I am Cam Rogers. That guy right there is Tom Downey. We've got other rumors to break down, and we also have a recent cut from the Cincinnati Bengals. One George Iloka, one of the good veteran safeties out there that not a lot of people talk about, but he's going to be a solid player for whatever team he goes to. But as for Cincinnati, classic Bengals financial move.
So the number one rule of the Bengals is they always have at least $10 million extra in cap space every single year. You laugh, I'm dead serious. That is what the Bengals do. But there was some rationale behind it, even though it's a move I never would have made. Jesse Bates is a better pure free safety than George Iloka. They drafted him in round 2. He's looked pretty good in the preseason. He's going to be your starter. The Bengals also know that they've got big money coming up to guys like Geno Atkins, to guys like A.J. Green. They have to save some cap space there. So on one hand, it makes some sense. On the other hand, if you're the Bengals, you just got rid of, at the minimum, the best backup safety in the NFL to save $4.5 million or so.
Is it worth it?
I don't consider it, but maybe they think Brandon Wilson, Clayton Feldrum, or Josh Shaw, who's been pretty bad in the preseason, can become that number 3 guy. So not what I would have done, but the Bengals cut him loose. And now if you're a team that needs a safety, you're like, oh man, this is a starting caliber player who has experience playing both free safety and strong safety. I think he's better as a strong safety, but if you need a free safety, he can play a role like he has the last 2 years for the Bengals.
Versatility matters. All right, so we're going to have our 5 teams here, but let's go through the ones that didn't make the top 5, but worth monitoring. Giants, Vikings, Steelers, Seahawks, and Indianapolis.
The Giants have Landon Collins at strong safety, but Iloka could play that free safety type role. Minnesota makes sense. They tried to sign Iloka several years ago. They have Mike Zimmer as their DC, but I think they're kind of committed to Andrew Zendejo right now. So they're 6th in my mind. Pittsburgh needs more of a back-end free safety, but in reality, I think if you put Sean Davis, Morgan Burnett, and Terrell Edmonds, you've kind of got 4 strong safeties already. You're kind of already maxed out there.
Yeah.
Seattle makes sense if they're going to trade away Earl Thomas. I don't think they're going to go sign George Iloka, though. And then the Colts as well, same with the Bucs. They always seem to be in need of a safety. Bucs could do it again with TJ Ward, more or less.
All right, well, let's do it. Let's get to the top 5 here, and checking in at number 5, the Carolina Panthers. And our friends at BetDSI, of course, remind you all you can get a 120% deposit bonus using that promo code NFL120. All right, so Carolina, kind of a weak defensive backfield in my eyes.
Yeah, they've got some young players back there. They're kind of banking on Rashawn Golden emerging, but beyond Mike Adams, there's really no one I truly trust in that secondary for the Panthers. They brought in Denoris Searchy. They have Mike Adams. They have Colin Jones, Desmond Southward, Demetrius Cox. None of those names go, oh yeah, I trust him as my starting safety. If you're Carolina, you can bring in George Iloka. You can even think about a multi-year deal with him, which I don't think he's going to take. And then long-term, you've got George Iloka and Rashawn Golden, and I'm not a huge Golden guy, but if he emerges like he definitely has the potential to, all of a sudden you're in really good shape at safety. So I think Carolina, from a need perspective, makes sense at the strong safety spot for Iloka if he's open to coming there.
All right, well, we'll see if that actually happens. As for Carolina's defensive backfield right now, Captain Munlin's probably the better player out of all of these guys, right? Maybe Bradbury, he's okay.
I would say James Bradbury, and then if you're the Panthers, you're hoping it'll be Dante Jackson very soon.
Yes. Okay, so Carolina's there at number 5. I was reading an article earlier today that a team that might make some sense, this one, the Green Bay Packers. Clinton Dix has actually been a little inconsistent lately.
He had a bad week 17, as several Packers fans have told me before, and they were going to try and make Kentrell Bright starter. He had a little injury this year. I think he'll be okay, though, for most of the season. They drafted Josh Jones. He has not emerged in the way that they want him to. And then beyond that, they're pretty thin. I trust 3 of those guys on there. I don't trust Whitehead or Evans or Green. So if I were the Packers, you can have Clinton Dix. You can have George Iloka in there as your starters. And you can even shuffle Dix and Iloka up and down in terms of strong safety, free safety, like several NFL teams do. You can still play Kentrell Bright. You can still play Josh Jones. They're banged up at inside linebacker right now. I think a good scenario for the Packers would be to play a little bit more of the big nickel package. Burnett played a lot of linebacker for them in the past. You can have Iloka play that role, or Josh Jones, or whomever. So I think the Packers need one more safety. Money might be a little tight for them right now, but he'd be a good fit scheme, and I think talent-wise.
Total tangent, but I am excited about the young corners there in Green Bay as well.
Josh Jackson's pick 6?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I like Josh Jackson.
All right, let's talk about the Oakland Raiders now. They're at number 3 on the list. Saw somebody ask about them in the comments section.
It makes perfect sense.
reunite with Gunther.
I think there's a pretty clear top three for George Iloka, and if you want to put Oakland at 1, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. For starters, they already plan on making a run to go sign Iloka. Number 2, they love safeties this year. They've added several in the offseason. And maybe most importantly, Paul Gunther, the Raiders' current defensive coordinator, was the Bengals DC. He knows George Iloka, and from Iloka's perspective, you got cut in the middle of the preseason. The Bengals kind of didn't do you in the best way there. Now you have to learn a new playbook. You don't really have to in Oakland. You already know what the scheme is. Now, Carl Joseph, Marcus Gilchrist are the starters for now. I think, especially free safety is kind of open for grabs. So Joseph, I think, would be your box guy. Iloka would play the free safety role he's played for the Bengals the past few years. Maybe even cut Nelson, Eric Harris, will be Melifanu, who are all competing for roles there as well. You bring in George Iloka, I think you would make Marcus Gilchrist your number 1 safety off the bench, or maybe you have Iloka start the year on the bench and then take over later on in the season.
Not a bad safety group if Iloka goes over to there.
I think it's a fine group right now. Now, I'm a little bit higher on Nelson than some have been. He has not looked that great so far, so hopefully he does bounce back. But I think it makes sense for both sides. I do wonder, though, almost if the Raiders don't even need Iloka. Like, can't they get by with Joseph and Nelson and Obi and Shalom and Eric Harris? I'm not sure.
They also have another priority right now, pay Khalil Mack.
Yes.
And figure that out. So maybe they're not looking to George Iloka as we stand. But type away, should the Raiders sign him? Y for yes, N for no. Let's stay in the AFC West and talk about this team, the Kansas City Chiefs. They could use somebody alongside Eric Berry at that safety position. I think it makes a lot of sense. And when you take a look at the defensive backfield for Kansas City, they need all the help they can get around outside corner, Tom, because that's where I think they are the weakest. I think they're good at slot corner.
I love Kendall Fuller.
Where they can help is obviously bringing in George Iloka and help things out in that safety tandem to, basically be the safeties, the literal safeties for Emerson and Nelson, who could get burned.
Look, Berry and Iloka can both play a little bit of free and strong safety. I think they would mesh well enough together. They're going to lean toward Eric Murray since Daniel Sorensen is out for a good portion of this year. Armani Watts is a young guy long term. I think Iloka might be more of a 1-year deal for him. Skandrick was also brought in to play corner for them. I'll put him as the backup for now. He could start, although
that'd be bad.
I don't know if he has all that much left in him in reality. But for Iloka, with Eric Berry still coming back from his own injury, with Sorensen hurt, the Chiefs, I think, are one of the few teams that have hey, we need a starter. Iloka can say, you know what? I'll come be your instant starter. A lot of these teams we've gone through at least have other options, i.e. a Marcus Gilchrist if you're the Oakland Raiders. I would take Gilchrist over an Eric Murray right now. Yeah. So I think for the Chiefs' perspective, need-wise, it's right there.
All right, so we got the Chiefs there at number 2. We'll get to number 1, but first, folks, we're hooking you up. We've partnered with the number 1 sports book, BetDSI, and demanded our audience, all of you guys, of course, get the best sign-up bonus known to man to gamble on sports. Type in chatsports.com/bet into your browser. Sign up and deposit with promo code NFL120.
You'll get a 120% deposit bonus when you put down your first amount there. So you put in $100, you're going to end up with $220. It's free money for you guys at chatsports.com/bet if you use promo code NFL120.
All right, so with that, let's get to team number 1 on the list. Firmly in the ET sweepstakes, if you will, Earl Thomas, but maybe they settle for George Iloka, the Dallas Cowboys.
Sign me up right now. Like,
all in.
First off, the Cowboys' top safeties are Jeff Heath, Xavier Woods, Kevon Frazier in no particular order. Heath, coming back from his own injury, is now good to go. Kevon Frazier is a solid enough box safety. Xavier Woods is the ideal free safety for the Cowboys. He is going to miss at least the rest of the preseason, probably week 1 as well with a hamstring strain. Their top backup at strong safety behind Frazier and Heath was Jamil Showers. He has injured his ACL. He is out for the year. Marquise Enough also kind of banged up right now. So the Cowboys need bodies at safety. They're very much beat up right now. In reality, Cam, I have been hammering the Cowboys to get a safety at some point. They did sign one today. They signed Dominique Sanders, the former Georgia product. He is not going to make this roster. If he does, there are big problems there. He is going to be a backup body type. If I am the Cowboys, go get George Iloka. Like, yeah, you've interest in Earl Thomas, of course, as several teams do. But you can get George Iloka for much cheaper from a money perspective and from a draft pick perspective. So go sign Iloka.
That's a great point.
You don't know for sure if what's going to end up happening here is that the Seahawks will actually trade away Earl Thomas. If that doesn't happen and you're kind of banking on it, all of a sudden you're in bad shape. So if I am the Cowboys, I am signing Iloka right now. Now the issue is, Cam, George has been rather outspoken with his thoughts on the national anthem. Now he hasn't kneeled before, but we know how Jerry Jones feels about it.
That's right.
That's a bit of an issue. But he went to Boise State, and the Cowboys love Boise State players, Cam.
I did just throw in a little question on YouTube Live. Some people are voting. I go, thoughts on the national anthem debate? Type K for kneel, S for stand. Type away. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I'm seeing a lot of new watchers out there, so I want everybody weighing in on this debate. As for George Iloka, 5 teams that could sign him here in this month of August and maybe into September. Dallas, Kansas City, Oakland, Green Bay, and Carolina, 1 through 5. One thing we want to note here, Tom, the slowness of the safety market.
It's different for Iloka. I think at this point, because of when he was cut, he's not going to be willing to say, yeah, I'll wait. He's got to get in and learn this playbook. He knows he's a starting caliber guy. He doesn't want to wait for another injury like what happened to Kenny Vaccaro and Tennessee. He wants to get somewhere now where he can get used to the scheme, or go to Oakland where there is no getting used to the scheme because he already knows it, and get playing quickly so that he can cash in again next year in free agency. So he's going to be, I think, a little bit more on what I thought Dez was going to do, sign kind of quickly to get caught up and then cash in next year.
Yeah.
All right. Didn't happen with Dez in the end.
Be sure to let us know what team will sign George Iloka this season. Let us know in comments on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live.